Dr. Kia Pre, shining wisdom's light, teaching soul tribe how to see through the night. Ancient scriptures and bloodlines she knows, spreading truth wherever she goes. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Through her channel, knowledge flows, breaking chains that hold us close, teaching paths to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine, she's helping her tribe to realign with wisdom, ancient and new, showing what we all can do. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia lights the way to a new and brighter day.
So let's try this again. Grand Rising. Hello, family. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me now. Grand Rising, good morning, joyous rising, happy Monday, family. Can you hear me? Thank you for saying you enjoy the music that was written by one of our Soul Tribe members by the name of Kenneth. So let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Yes, here I am. Oh, we had some technical difficulties. And what's interesting is my computer has been working. It was working yesterday. It's been working all day, all this morning. But when I went live, all of a sudden the mic wasn't working. So my son came over, checked, and inside the computer, the mic was muted. How did that happen? It wasn't muted all this time, but at least you all can hear me loudly and clearly now. Check in. Let us all know where you're hailing from, family, because we got something to talk about today. On yesterday, we talked about NASARA, the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, and how massive amounts of wealth will be released on the planet, not just in here in America, but all across the globe. We talked about how that came from the farmers' claims and how we see it actually lining up with our Constitution for our Republic and how we know it's occurring now. So please go back and look at my video that I did on yesterday about NASARA, on the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, and the global version of that, just SARA. So welcome back, everybody. In that podcast on yesterday, I did say that the government shutdown that we see occurring right now could be something that was foretold a long time ago. As a matter of fact, it was foretold, it was prophesied, or there was a foreshadowing of this happening, that the government would be shut down. Now, my encouragement to everybody here is to keep our vibrations high and prepare, because the government may never return again. It might stay closed. If a government does reopen, it will happen after a major announcement, which probably could be an emergency broadcast system announcement. And that announcement will let us know that the old guard is over and the old government has been completely dismantled. Another thing that would be made during that announcement is an alert or an announcement or information to inform us that the republic, our lawful government, has been restored. What makes me think that? I'll tell you in just a minute. But first, let me acknowledge that I see you all from all over, from Atlanta. Who is Curacao? Is that Caraco or Curacao? Dallas is in the house. Arkansas is in the house, Tampa Bay, Florida, Arizona, Atlanta, Africa is in the house. Look at this. So many of you. So as you come in, hit the like button, family, and introduce yourselves to let us know who you are and where you're coming from. Oh my gosh, I see so many of you here from RSA. Somebody said that, yes, we're back to the new republic. Germany's in the house. Yes, so much good news. Keep checking in and I'll try my best to acknowledge you all as we get into the podcast. But the old guard is over. The old government, it has been completely dismantled. How can I say that so emphatically? I'll get back to that in just a minute. But today we are on the 27th day of the government shutdown. This is Monday, October the 27th, 2025, and the time now is 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So let's get right into the podcast. What we're going to talk to you about today is the government shutdown. Most of you know that the lawful government is called the Republic for the United States of America. And we have a constitution that's attached to that called the Constitution for the United States of America. Well, when you're in the know and if you've done your research, then you understand that our lawful government was actually usurped or taken over. And some people say turned into a corporation, but it was taken over by people or bloodline families that actually usurped authority from our lawful government and incorporated itself as the United States Incorporated in 1871 in the state of Delaware. This entity was ultimately owned by the Vatican, and that is what gave the Pope or Pope Francis the authority in 2014 to send out this letter that I'm going to read to you today to the then president of the United States Incorporated, President Barack Obama. In this letter, when Pope Francis talked about how the United States Incorporated had usurped authority from the Republic, he goes on to say that we're unlawful and that there's going to be an army or a military that is going to be put together to take us down and force us out of control. In his letter to President Obama, he actually sent an urgent call out to President Obama to make sure that everybody ceases and desists on this land. He said, if we don't do what we're supposed to do to stand down because our time is up, then we're going to be forced to stand down. So he not only said that a military would be put in control, but he said that there was a particular person who would be put in control of the military. And that particular person was General Carter Ham. So I want you in your spare time to look up General Carter Ham and figure out why he was the one that will lead the military. Now, these type of things that's going on is something that's unbeknownst to the public. So a lot of people are panicking right now with a government shutdown because you have people that are out of work, you have people that are on furlough, you have people that are depending on entitlement benefits like Social Security. Even though you pay into Social Security, it is listed as an entitlement benefit. And TANF, or the Temporary Assistance to Needy Families, which they call welfare. Also, food stamps, or EBT. those type of subsidies so people can get food. And WIC, those are all entitlement benefits that people have been receiving because they needed it temporarily. But what we saw happening is that some people passed those benefits down to generations, and it absorbs so much from the system, as well as government spending on other things and money printing on other things, to the extent that the United States Incorporated is now bankrupt. Okay. Not only is the United States Incorporated bankrupt, but last year, when the Supreme Court of the United States put out a ruling that they overturned the Chevron doctrine, what they determined in that ruling was that the government, United States Incorporated, was operating unlawfully and that they were treasonous. Then they went a step further and said any judge that knew of the United States Incorporated operating as they were, and or a judge that enforced the United States Incorporated's rules and policies and all that, all those judges, they also committed treason, along with the United States Incorporated and all of these agencies that they call government agencies, like your IRS, your CIA, FBI, et cetera, et cetera. So again, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that the United States Incorporated was unlawful, treasonous, and therefore had to be taken down. And they also determined that any judge that participated in any of that treasonous, nefarious activity, they had committed treason. And any judge that knew of a judge that allowed this to happen, they committed misprision of treason. All of this was the precursor to the government shutdown. And this is why President Trump and Elon Musk created the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, in order to take down the government. When President Trump came back on his second term, actually, this is his third term. It's just that most people don't know he was actually controlled in the Biden administration. But when President Trump came back in January of 2025, the first thing he did after he started sending out executive orders was to send a letter to millions of government workers and give them the opportunity to retire early with benefits. But their deadline was September the 30th. September the 30th was chosen because, as you all know, October the 1st is the beginning of a new fiscal year. Okay, they have to talk about budgets and finances, etc. So those government workers were given an opportunity, or a buyout opportunity, to retire early with benefits, or they can just be cut off. That was a very, I think it's a benevolent thing for the president to do, to say, hey, I know we're going to close down the government, but I'm giving you all the opportunity to leave. Now, everybody doesn't have the opportunity, but he did send out the email. Then after that, you saw cuts of jobs, such that now we're almost up to 1 million government workers that are out of work. But this was all part of the plan. It was all part of the plan to dismantle the United States Incorporated, because they are unlawful. They are treasonous. These are people or entities that have usurped authority from the people here on the land and from peoples all over the world. And they not only usurp authority and liberties and the sovereignty from the people, they usurped their governments and created their own corporations with a constitution attached to those corporations. So this all happened because the military is really in control. Okay. Again, Pope Francis sent out a letter to President Obama in 2014 to let him know that this would happen. And he told him, we got to all stand down, or else there will be an army formed with General Ham over the army that will force us to stand down. Now, that's just an introduction of what's going on. I'm so glad to see almost 500 people in the house. Hit the like button on your way in. Comment in the comment section what you're thinking about all this, and let us know where you're hailing from. I'm now going to bring up that letter that was sent to Pope Francis so that you can read along with me, to let you know that the military is in control. What gives the military the authority? According to our Constitution, anytime you have rogue elements or foreign entities to come and take over your government, the people have a right to form a militia and drag those folks out of office and shut down their powers. Okay, another precursor to all this happening was J6. You saw them go into the Capitol. The Capitol is the people's house. And even though they called that an insurrection, actually, you have the power. You have the power and control within the realm of your abilities, according to the Constitution, to go into the government, to go into the Capitol. The Capitol is the people's house. You can take all those computers, you can yank the people up out of there, and you can do what the person did who was in indigenous garb and stake the totem pole to say, we're reclaiming the people's house, we're reclaiming our land. You will see certain rituals occur like that to let the people who are awakened know their time is up. And the people on the land are now back in control. The chiefs on the land are now back in control. That is even what the Alabama Brawl was all about. That was a ritual. People were entertained and they thought it was funny, and they took to their social media platforms to crack and talk about, how, hey, this is a war between blacks and whites. But they were misinformed. That was actually a ritual to let people know that maritime law, or the law of the water, is over. And the law of the land, or common law and constitutional law, is put back in order, or is back in control. That's why you saw a whole argument at the dock with a ship and the owner of the guy's name Shipman. It was all a ritual. Those are our Masonic people that worked for elite people who always let you know what they're doing. They let you know what they're doing, what they're going to do, and what they've done. You just have to have eyes to see and ears to hear. And when you turn off mainstream media and you stop playing so much, and you stop being so concerned about your flesh and entertaining yourself and having fun, and you start fasting so that your lower man can decrease and your carnal man can decrease and your spiritual man can increase, and you start taking monoatomic gold and colloidals, and you start wearing silver and gold and copper and all these precious metals that are precious for a reason, you will open up your first eye chakra that people erroneously call your third eye chakra. You will open up all of this so that you can see. Your spirit person, spirit man and woman will start to see all the rituals and what they really mean. So the Alabama Brawl that occurred in Alabama a couple years ago, right after President Trump was giving a speech in Montgomery, Alabama, right across the street from the brawl, was actually a ritual. You saw a ritual with these Masonic people. You saw a captain throw up his hat, which was like a smoke signal saying it's time now. And then you saw these African Americans who are indigenous people in the ship. And what did the mainstream media say? Look at all the people mooring across the shore, mooring to the land, mooring from the water to the land. Coded messages for, look at these black folks, the Moors, indigenous people, mooring or traversing across the water to end maritime law, to end admiralty law, and going to the land where shipmen and a captain had an altercation. This wasn't about black and white. Then you saw them stage this whole fake fight where people are fighting each other with chairs like the WWF or WWE, whatever it was, so that you can be entertained. But in reality, they were showing you that this was a ritual. It has nothing to do with skin complexion. It has everything to do with Black's Law Dictionary, that black is a status in law that means you have no standing, that black status is over, and white was a status that means that you are free persons on the land. They mixed everything up and they turned it upside down. You need to do your own research in order to figure out what I'm talking about. But what I'm trying to bring to your attention is that all of these things that occur are rituals. They're rituals. Anything you see on the media, on the news, anything that goes viral is usually a ritual to let you know what's really going on behind the scenes. So before all of this happened, though, there was a letter sent out by Pope Francis. Okay. Pope Francis was the Pope at the time. He had the authority to send this letter to the President of the United States Incorporated, who at the time was President Obama. This letter was actually published here on a website called Prepare for Change, but it was written by Pope Francis on July the 4th, 2014, on Independence Day. How did I come to know about this letter? Doing research, and because I heard about motu proprio, which is orders by the Pope, from the Grand Sheikh of the Moor, who is Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey. He has been alerting Moors or indigenous people on the land, and anybody who's open to hearing what he has to say, that the time for the United States Incorporated to control America and the world is up. So let's read this letter here that was issued out. And I'll take my time. I'll slow down and take my time, and you all let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Civil Orders, July 4th, 2014. Let me see if I can bring it up. So can you all see that? I'll make it bigger so you all can see that. Issued to all members of the domestic police forces, United States Marshal Services, the Provost Marshal, members of the American Bar Association, and the American Armed Forces. These organic American states of the Union, known as the United States of America Major, exercising plenary civil power upon the land, hereby appoint General Carter F. Ham to lead and command the Grand Army of the Republic and its successors under the guidance of the Joint Chiefs of Staff with their full support. The letter was sent to the policy enforcers of the United States Incorporated, known as the police officers. It was sent to the U.S. Marshals, the Provost Marshals, and the American Bar Association. Why the American Bar Association? Because the American Bar Association works in agreement with the bar, the British Accredited Registry, which means they work with the British Crown. So this letter was sent to all of them, and they were informed that Carter Ham will lead and command the Grand Army of the Republic. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. But who is Carter Ham? General Carter Ham. I'm looking it up, and you can look it up later. He is a United States Army retired gentleman that was a president and CEO of the Association of the United States Army from June 2016 to September 2021. He served nearly 38 years in the Army, beginning as an enlisted infantryman and concluding with his final assignment as commander of the United States Africa Command. Before that, he served as commander of the United States Europe, director of operations of the Joint Staff, and commanding general of the 1st Infantry Division. In retirement, General Ham chaired the congressionally mandated National Commission on the Future of the Army. He was among the first group of 50 soldiers selected in 1974 for what is now called the Green to Gold program. And he was a distinguished military graduate of the John Carroll University in Cleveland, Ohio. You can see all of his accolades, which led up to him becoming the one that was selected. Or I should say, this is why he was selected, because of the accolades and things that he did, that he served 38 years. And then afterwards, he still continued to do many things. After this letter, the issuing out of this letter, still continue to do many wonderful things. Should it become necessary to suppress commercial mercenary forces operating under the guise or pretense of being government agencies, including but not limited to the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, or FEMA, the Internal Revenue Service, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, etc., General Ham shall assume immediate command and control of all armed forces and services owed to the United States of America Major, stationed in North America, and shall join them under the command as the Grand Army of the Republic. All forces of air, land, and sea are to be employed. And my darlings, this is what we see happening. All forces have been employed to take down the United States Incorporated. And you see, it says, should it become necessary to suppress or to completely hold down commercial mercenary forces that are operating under the guise of the federal government, then this is what we're going to do. We're going to take control, in other words. A lot of these government agencies are really just corporate entities that are operating under false pretenses of being the government. And I'm going to just briefly let you see 441 government agencies that are now closed. Why? because the Grand Army of the Republic is taking them down. Also, because the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron Doctrine, which gave the government and all these entities unlimited powers. The Chevron Doctrine said that these government agencies they could create any statutes, codes, or policies that they desired to because they were considered the experts in their field. And anytime you try to appeal or you try to go against or push back against any of those 441, now 442 government agencies, then the judges of the courts would say, no, you have no power. You're a minor. You can't speak for yourself. You are a slave according to the corporation. But all of these government agencies, the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, CPS, DMV, all of them, they are experts. So we're going to defer back to them, and you're going to have to pay whatever fine they say you have to pay, and you're going to have to abide by their rules. So that's what the Chevron Doctrine was. It later became known as the Chevron Deference because the judges deferred back to those government agencies anytime you try to push back against them. The Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron Doctrine and then went further and said that these 441, 442 government agencies are treasonous and unconstitutional. So if you go to federalregister.gov and slash agencies, you will see that now this website is actually closed, and they'll let you know the government is closed. It says the National Archives and Records Administration is closed to normal operations due to a lack of appropriations or a lack of funds, money. Federalregister.gov will automatically provide the daily Federal Register and public inspection lists, but we will not provide technical support. The official published Federal Register is available at this particular website right here. Here is the list of agencies, each unique federal and quasi-federal that has legal authority to publish in the Federal Register. Now, legal authority is different from lawful authority. If they have legal authority to publish on the Federal Register, it's because they're a part of or in cahoots with the United States Incorporated, the faux government that incorporated itself in 1871 in the state of Delaware. If it were lawful, anything lawful is in alignment with the Constitution for the Republic, our lawful government. So they have a legal right to publish here. And here are all of those 442 agencies. At some point, I will just do a video where we can talk about and go through all of these one by one so that you can see how the faux government and all these agencies work in cahoots or in alignment with one another to create policy, statutes, and codes to enslave us. And not only to enslave us, but also to force us to pay fines and penalties if we did not agree to abide by their rules. Well, as I said, and I continue to say, and I said earlier, the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron Doctrine that gave them authority. This is why President Trump and Elon Musk created the Department of Government Efficiency to downsize the government. You don't need the government to rule over you. What does government mean? To govern is to manage or control. Ment is the menche or the mentality or the mind. Do you need these entities to govern your mind? Do you need them to tell you how to conduct your business? Or should you create your own mission statement for your life and your own mission and vision statement for your family? We already have a republic, a lawful government, but we need to learn how to govern ourselves. We'll save that for another podcast. Should it become necessary to suppress commercial mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, including but not limited to the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, the Internal Revenue Service, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, etc., General Ham shall assume immediate command and control of all armed forces and services owed to the United States of America, stationed in North America, and shall join under his command as the Grand Army of the Republic. All forces of air, land, and sea are to be deployed. Any cost or loss suffered as a result of deployment of the Grand Army of the Republic shall be charged as stipulated prior. All effort shall be made by the Grand Army of the Republic to spare life and property while undertaking any action whatsoever within the states of the Union without exception. Excuse me. So when Pope Francis sent this letter to President Obama, he said that the Grand Army of the Republic will be formed to take down the United States Incorporated and any powers that have aligned themselves with it. But while the Grand Army of the Republic, or the military, is taking down the deep state, they should do everything within their power to spare the life of the people. Now, I know some people are saying right now that they've been handcuffed and they've been, challenged and questioned by ICE. And some people are sending me, videos, and they're really upset about that. And they're saying American citizens should not be asked to show their ID. But we are at war, okay? And during war, if you don't want to be caught in a crossfire, you need to lay low. Anytime you have war occurring on your land, you need to make yourself as invisible as possible, because there will always be casualties of war, even though the army and the military has been told to spare as much life as possible. There will always be casualties of war. So stay out of the way. And if you're asked to show your license, show it and comply. If there's a problem with, who you are and whether or not you should be conducting certain positions, like one of my friends sent me a video the other day of a brother, a man classified as Black, who was pulled over by ICE in California, according to him, allegedly. And he was upset and said, I need to sue. What should I do? And I can't believe I'm being questioned on my own land. And the ICE representative said to him, you don't have your full uniform on. How are we supposed to know? If you don't have your full uniform on, we can just assume that you're pretending to be a postal worker. So my friend got mad at me because I said, ICE is correct. Why is nobody calling out people who are not going by the rules? Even when you look at the postal website, it tells you that you are to be in full uniform. If you go against policies and you go against authority, you're going to deal with the repercussions. We got to stop being so used to being coddled, entitled, and allowed to do whatever we want to, so that when orders finally is set in place, now we want to cry, we want to have pushback, and we want to sue, but it's not going to work. We are at active war, family, between good and evil. You can look at resignation.info, and you can see how many people that are in government offices, many people over banks and corporations have been forced to resign early because of motu proprio. If required to take field position, the local commanders shall make every effort to communicate the basis of their authority and the reasons for their presence on American state soil to ensure a prompt cessation of hostilities and a widespread understanding of the usurpations and acts of fraud which have led to any conflict. I said we're in the middle of war because we have people and entities that have usurped authority or taken over authority, and they are operating fraudulently, and that is what has led to the conflict. You have government agencies, presidents, all these people, government agents that have allowed MS-13 gang members to come in here from other countries, Venezuelan gang members to come up from other countries, Mexican cartel to come in and run our countries. And they've had rogue elements from all across the globe to allow them to come in and infiltrate every segment of society. The CCP, or the Communist Chinese Party, they were allowed to infiltrate. So many entities have come and infiltrated our land masses. And so this is why they woke up, the military, and they said, you know what? We're going to have to do something about this. There were generals working in the military a long time ago, unbeknownst to us. Now, we do know that President Trump just met with the leaders of the military September the 30th, right before the government shutdown. But you have to ask yourself, how many meetings did they have before this? Okay. These military generals have been doing the work, and they've been working in alignment with a lot of entities and what do you call them? Non-human beings that have come to help fight in this war. That's why they call them Nasara White Knights and white hats of the military. So I'm going to get back to the letter, and then I'm going to post later on today or tomorrow just me reading this letter, okay, without any commentary, so you can just read it for yourself along with me. All parties must be brought to understand the nature of the federal government, the limitations of its authority, and their obligation to act in favor of the organic states of the Union. The Grand Army of the Republic shall continue to operate under General Order 100, known as the Lieber Code, extant from the pen of the last Republic President Abraham Lincoln. Why do you think President Trump always had the bust of Abraham Lincoln on his desk when he's signing executive orders? He has the bust of President Abraham Lincoln because he was the last president of the Republic, our lawful government. Every president thereafter has been presidents of the United States Incorporated, the group of bloodline families that took over. I'll see what you guys are saying in the comments. Okay, you're still introducing yourselves. All right. Yes, all lives matter. Absolutely. So let's get back to the letter. No orders, executive or otherwise, issued by then President Barack H. Obama pretending authority on the land of the American states while operating as, quote, president, unquote, of the United States, all capital letters, corporation. Now read that again. No orders, executive or otherwise, issued by Barack H. Obama pretending authority on the land of the American states while operating as president of the United States Corporation, nor as the President of the United States of America minor, are owed any performance by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They're not owed anything by General Ham or any ordinary. All plainly stated grants of contractual authority evident in the Constitution for the United States of America remain in place, subject to good faith performance of occupying obligation and treaties. So any grants or any contractual authority that the Constitution for the lawful Constitution for the United States of America remain in place. The people that had usurped authority from them, they have to step down. The Republic remains in place, subject to good faith performance of the accompanying obligation and treaties. So when you see United States, lowercase United, lowercase states of capital America, that is referring to the Republic. If you see United States Corporation, United States of America, all caps, that refers to the corporation. Corpse, dead, okay. Pope Francis goes on in his letter that he sent to President Obama that we call motu proprio on July the 4th, 2014, that Mr. Obama is the president, quote unquote, of a governmental service corporation under contract to provide stipulated services to the organic states and is on their payroll. He otherwise acts as a foreign dignitary representing the United States of America minor. He's not the only foreign dignitary. Every last one of those presidents after President Abraham Lincoln, they're all foreign. They're all foreign. And some people will say, what about President Trump? Well, he was operating as the last president of what? The United States Incorporated. He is the last president. And as I mentioned in Nasara, when I read those benefits of Nasara, when we're going to have an announcement of this war that's been going on between good, the Republic, and bad, the United States Incorporated, there's going to be an emergency broadcast system announcement where we'll be told about this war that has been going on. And then 120 days after that, we will have lawful elections. But President President John Trump, who we affectionately call President John Tavius Trump is the last president of that whole system. He was used and chosen by the military, who is in control, to take them down. You can look and see that the NFL is being investigated, the NBA is being investigated, many different what else? Places of business are being investigated. A lot of different places. James Comey, who was the FBI director, was arrested and replaced with Patel. He was arrested. Now this information is coming out. A lot of people aren't publicizing it because I don't know if you recall this, but we reported on this. All the reporters got their badges and their credentials in order to be able to report from the White House. They got them revoked. So now mainstream media, they're not allowed to go into the White House and or even report on some of these things. This is going to be reported by we the people and independent journalists, which will lead up to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, doing an emergency broadcast announcement to let everybody know what's really been going on. He already deployed the National Guard. Before that, the Army has been in control, but he deployed the National Guard right in front of everybody. He did it in 2020 during the global shutdown, and he's been doing it thereafter ever since then. And he did it most recently just earlier this month. So let's get back to the letter. We're talking about how Obama is a foreign dignitary representing the United States of America minor. In neither of these capacities is he allowed any granted authority to impose upon American state citizens, endanger American state property, or command mercenary forces on American state soil, however veiled as federal civilian service agencies. He doesn't care. They can veil, they can be under guise, they can do whatever they want and pretend like they are really working on behalf of the people, but they aren't. And so any president that was operating had no authority to do that. President Donald Trump has the authority to do what he's doing now because the military put him in charge. The military put him in place right now to take down the deep state. We require the Joint Chiefs of Staff and General Ham to commence measures to disarm federal civilian agency personnel and to seize control of the vast stockpiles of arms which have been improperly amassed by the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and other agencies employed by the all capital letters United States. The only federal agency allowed free ingress on the land of the American states is the United States Marshal Services. And then only they allowed to do so when their personnel are engaged in their duty to protect the U.S. mail and sworn to act as constitutional officers. All other federal agency personnel are limited to unarmed service until further notice. This was in 2014. So the takedown of the deep state actually occurred before President Donald Trump came into power. And even though Obama was supposed to inform the people about this, he did not. So some people are saying that he actually, it depends on who you listen to, he actually worked in cahoots with President Trump. That's what some people are saying. Because he knew of this takedown and he allowed it to happen. It depends on what side of the fence are you on. Some people say that he was good and he was a double agent. Some people say he was bad. It really doesn't matter because he's gone bye-bye right along with all the other fake foreign presidents that were on our landmass, masquerading as the president of the republic. Well, Pope Francis says, we direct the Joint Chiefs of Staff to communicate these first two general civil orders directly to President Obama or Mr. Obama. The members of the United States Congress, quote, unquote, the administrators of all so-called federal agencies, the members of the, quote, Supreme Court, and those serving as governors to compel their rapid understanding and cooperation. So Pope Francis is saying that they've given orders or directions to the Joint Chiefs of Staff to communicate this to everyone that they listed here, to inform them of what's happening what's happening with the takedown of the deep state. He said, we're telling you or directing you to communicate this first to communicate these first two general civil orders directly to Mr. Obama, the members of the United States Congress. The reason why United States Congress is in quotes is because what they're saying is they're calling themselves Congress or lawmakers, but they're not. And the administrations of federal agencies, they're saying federal in quote because they're not part of the government. They call themselves federal. They call themselves or position themselves as authority, but they're not. And they were supposed to give them to the members of the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court has no authority on this land. Okay, the Supreme Court is not even supposed to be ruling because most of the judges there have the title of nobility or esquire behind their name, meaning that they served as an attorney at some point. And with esquire behind their name, it means they passed the British accredited registry. British accredited registry or the bar exam. The British accredited registry is a part of the British Crown. So attorneys, congressmen, and those judges, which judges, it's not, you shouldn't even call them judges. They are administrators or administrators of our trust. They all have to stand down. So that's why Supreme Court is in quote. Well, you might say, but Dr. Pruitt, you said earlier in the podcast that the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine, which downsized the government or shrunk the powers of the government. How could they do that if they have no lawful authority? Well, the way they could do that, two things. One, they were overtaken by the military, and they do have some lawful constitutional attorneys or judges in there that were working to, that infiltrated and working to take down the deep state. And then secondly, the president of the United States of America here, or President Donald Trump, working in agreement and alongside of the military, are using the tactics of the deep state and the rules of the deep state to take down the deep state. They're using the tools of the deep state to take down the deep state. They're using the Supreme Court of the United States to overturn the Chevron doctrine. President Trump is using executive orders, which is a tool of the deep state, to take the deep state down. That's actually very smart. It's very wise to do that. Use their own tools to take them down rather than to come kicking it down the government and telling everybody, hey, it's over. We just going to take over and we're going to take all these people out of here. I say do whatever it takes, but we the people could not handle that type of authority. They already called President Trump a dictator. Imagine if he and the military just came in around roughshod and tore up all of these fake government offices, yanked people up out of there and said, hey, we back in control. No, the wise way to do that is to use their own tools against them. It goes on to say, any expense or damage incurred. Let me pull my, excuse me. My battery is low. Okay. This could get lengthy, family, so I apologize. Just be patient, get you some water, get you some lunch. I want to read through this. We'll have some commentary. I'll answer some questions. And then later on in the day or the next day, I'll just post a video of me reading this. And it will be in my radio voice. I do have a radio voice because I was trained to be a journalist. So some people say it's not her, it's AI. It is me. I just know how to change my voice according to what I'm doing because that was an audio that I had actually recorded years ago. But I'm going to repost it on my YouTube channel at Dr. Kia Pruitt with the handle at Dr. Kia Pruitt Official. But I'm just reading straight through and that's it. But as for now, I'm taking my time and I want to answer some questions. Any expense or damage incurred by these organic states or any American state citizen as a result of actions undertaken by any federal agency personnel acting as armed mercenary on American state soil will be understood as the result of violent crimes committed against the peaceful inhabitants of the land and will incur immediate judgment. Liquidating the assets of the International Monetary Fund and the Federal Reserve in payment of the stipulated reparations. Who's going to receive reparations? Every last person that's on American soil. Every last person that's walking in your country. Every last human being that's operating under the guise of my voice and otherwise. Every single person on the planet will receive reparations because we all need to be compensated or repaired due to what these unlawful people have done to us, these unlawful people and their human hybrids and their non-human overlords. So any expense, any damage that has incurred as a result of all of these people that have been acting as armed mercenaries on our soil, they have to pay us back. And so what are armed mercenaries? So I looked up armed mercenaries. I said, okay, they keep talking about armed mercenary. A mercenary is a private individual who joins an armed conflict. So you have the United States Incorporated, and you have these private organizations and individuals like the CIA, the FBI, CPS, the DMV. All of those private entities joined an armed conflict in cahoots with the United States Incorporated to enslave the people. How will they pay? They will be arrested. They will face military tribunals. And because they committed these crimes against humanity, they will have their assets liquidated. That is why under Trump's first administration, he said any person that committed a crime against humanity will have their assets frozen. You remember that? Between 2018 and 2020? Executive Order 13813, or is it 13818? Somebody put in the chat which one that is. Crimes against humanity. What? This is 13813. Executive order blocking the property of persons involving in serious human rights abuse or conflict. By the authority vested in me as president of the Constitution, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the National Emergency Act, and the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act, et cetera, I, Donald John Trump, President of the United States of America, find that the prevalence and severity of human rights abuse and corruption that have had their source in whole or in substantial part outside the United States, such as those committed or directed by persons listed in the annex to this order, have reached such a scope and gravity that they threaten the stability of international political and economic systems. Human rights abuse and corruption undermine the values that form essential foundations of stable, secure functioning, et cetera, and he determined that their assets will be frozen in so many words. And where is that found for you to look it up? I'm trying to see which executive order that was. That was December the 20th, 2017. That executive order, but it doesn't say which order that was here on the White House. I believe it was Executive Order 13813. Somebody put in the chat if that was 13813 or 13818. Game over. Oh, Chief's in the house. Thank you. Thank you. We'll bring you on in a minute, Chief. I believe that's Executive Order 13818. Somebody look that up for me. Which executive order blocks property of people committing crimes against humanity? I see the 13818. Yep, it's Executive Order 13818. I'm gonna put that in the chat for you all. Yes, please like the video. I appreciate whoever said that. Oh, and Executive Order 13848. Okay, 13818 blocks the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption, but Executive Order 13848. Let's see, which was that one? Imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election. So I'll put that on. So 13848 is imposing sanctions in the event of foreign interference in the United States elections, such as what we saw happen in 2020. So I'll put that. Thank you, Jeffrey. I'll put that in the chat too. Okay. Now back to the reading. Let's see. Any expense or damage incurred by these organic states of any state citizen as a result of sanction undertaken by any federal agency personnel acting as armed mercenaries on American state soil will be understood as the result of violent crimes committed against the peaceful inhabitants of the land and will incur immediate judgment, liquidating their assets of the International Monetary Fund and the Federal Reserve. And if you recall yesterday when we read one of the Nasara benefits is that they would do away with the Federal Reserve. So we say that was in the plans already. In payment of the stipulated reparations. So they're going to liquidate the assets of the IMF, or the International Monetary Fund, and liquidate the Federal Reserve. And all that money would go back to pay us reparations for all of the pain and suffering that we have incurred. So people that may not believe it, but it's true. We're all going to receive reparations. Some of that will come from your trust that's attached to your birth certificate bond. Yes, you will have access to that. But we also have the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is comprised of real estate, stocks, bonds, precious metals, oil, lands, all type of things, and tariffs and taxes that Trump put on those other countries. And we have different trusts. So all of this is going to help take care of people in America and all across the globe, because these trusts are coming from families and dynasties all across the world. But the Federal Reserve and their central banking system enslaved the whole planet. They are the ones that printed out or had the United States dollar. They're the ones, the United States incorporated in the Federal Reserve central banking system, that forced all nations to trade with the United States dollar. Okay, what made their dollar the boss currency, or what gave the United States incorporated financial and economic hegemony, and what made the dollar the world reserve currency, was the United States incorporated those group of bloodline families, their agreement with Saudi Arabia to get oil from Saudi Arabia in exchange for protecting the Saudi kingdom. So United States incorporated these bloodline families. They made an agreement with the Saudi princes. We'll protect your whole kingdom. We'll protect the princes. But in exchange for that, you got to give everybody oil, and they have to use the United States dollar to do so. Okay. But the trigger of all of these countries saying we're not trading with the United States dollar anymore was Vladimir Putin going over to fight that war in Ukraine. That's an agreement with Project Sandman. Project Sandman was an agreement between 209 nations that, when triggered, they would stop trading with the dollar and use their own local currencies backed by precious metals for trade. Doing that totally dismantles the Federal Reserve. It totally annihilates the Federal Reserve. And then on top of that, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled, right after they ruled that they were downsizing the government because it was unlawful, they ruled that state-sponsored banks could operate outside of and independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system, and state-sponsored banks, which is the same as sovereign banks, could have their own charter and issue out their own gold-backed currencies. Why is that important? Because we have gold, not here, only here in America, but all across the globe. And gold will destroy the Federal Reserve central banking system. Because as long as you have gold and silver and other precious metals that you can use for trading and as money, you don't need the United States Incorporated or the Federal Reserve central banking system. And in fact, you can completely dismantle their powers. On top of that, though, their assets have already been liquidated. So the Federal Reserve central banking system, my darlings, they are bankrupt. They have no money. Okay, this was already orchestrated. This was 2014 when this letter was sent to Obama. This would be in payment of the stipulated reparations. Such crimes shall also be considered contract default, increasing the public debt subject to bounty. Any and all corporate officers of the all capital letters United States, or any successor organizations inheriting so-called federal service contracts who support or you condone or promote such crimes against the American states or against American state citizens shall be subject to arrest and prosecution for the commercial and violent crimes. You can see arrests taking place right now if you know where to look. James, who was that I just said? Comey was arrested, the former FBI director. Judges are being arrested. People are being arrested who operate in casinos, people in the NBA and FBL, all these different athletic organizations, they're being arrested right now because they promoted crimes against the American people. All foreign officials operating as elected or appointed officials of the United States of America minor who support, condone, or promote such crimes against the American states or American state citizens shall be subject to arrest, confiscation of their assets, and deportation to Puerto Rico, Guam, or other states as may be willing to receive them. This is a reason why we're having mass deportation right now. It's not about separating families. It's not about separating mothers from children and husbands from their wives. It's about how for decades, people from other countries have been allowed to come to America, infiltrate our government, infiltrate banking systems, form corporations using our trust and our deceased loved ones' trust funds to operate unlawfully here on the land. They set up hotels, restaurants, banks, grocery stores, convenience stores, gas stations under the guise of being a part of the American people, under the guise of being nationalized as Americans. But yet most of them hold, two different titles. Some of them say that they're American, but they still hold on to their nationality. But more importantly, a lot of them here were operating fraudulently and putting drugs into the community and putting gangs into the community, overtaking housing developments, and doing all type of things, and making love to the women, which is an act of war. Okay, so if you're making love to the women, you're not covering them, you're not marrying them, you're making love to them, giving them babies, or just paying them off for sex. Which I'm not saying women are innocent, but I'm saying when you have men, military age men between the age of 17 and 35 or 40, and maybe even higher on your land, that is an act of war. They're taking your women. The men, y'all men should be upset about that. They're whoring them out. They got them in the clubs. They got them in the strip joints, whoring themselves out. They're running them through pornography that some of you are enjoying and participating in. They got your daughters in it, your wives on OnlyFans. They got your mamas and your aunties. You should be upset because pornography is run by foreign entities. And most of those women, according to many sheriffs, particularly there was a sheriff in Polk County here in Florida that said most of the pornography that occurs in America and all across the globe is headed by foreign entities that traffic women. Most of those young girls and women are trafficked. You should have a problem with that. So instead of satisfying your flesh and your little peen and your phallus and being so happy that you can get off watching these little babies and these girls and these grown women who are prostituting, some of them prostituting themselves, you should be standing up as leaders and as the man and the head of your house and of the country and totally annihilating and doing away with pornography and the sex industry. So what you need to do as men is take control of your penis, take control of your body, and stand up as the leader that you are. Stand up as the warrior that you are, and align yourself with the military and align yourself with the other men who are concerned about the women and the children, and do something about this rampant pornography and sex trafficking and sex industry that has been allowed for decades and centuries and has destroyed families for eons and decade after decade. But we want to stand up on and talk about the women. And I do the same thing because somebody's got to hold the women accountable. So let's let the women be over that. You want to get on your little podcast and talk about how women are not worthy of marriage, but yet you're in the porn industry, but yet you can't control your penis, but yet you're cheating on your wife, but yet you got little girls, but yet you go to foreign countries and take advantage of those little girls, but yet you can get away with this and nobody says anything about it. And then you make your money on your podcast talking about how there's no marriageable women, and there's no virgins. Well, who screwed all the virgins? Who's making all the women unmarriageable? Men, it's time to step up and do your jobs. Some of you have, but I will say in the churches, pornography is so prevalent that, and I have brothers that's been over male ministry. 99% of the men in churches are victims of pornography or participate in pornography. And it's not your fault only because it pops up on the screen. But guess what happened now? Now you have to, on some websites, according to what I've heard, you have to identify yourself and send a license to see, to prove that you're over 18. And that doesn't take the ladies off. Ladies, so many of us have thought that we can be equal to men sexually, that we want to run through a bunch of men and we want to make money by going on these websites, that now when we get to the age that we want to be married and we want to have a legacy, we're not even qualified for the so-called top men that you want. Because I don't care what men do with their phallus and with their energy and their penis, they really have more time biologically. And when they get up to a certain point, they're not likely to choose a woman that's let men just run through her body. They're not likely to choose a woman that has not been a good steward of her energy, her body, her womb. If they have a choice between a woman that's got 5 or 6 kids by 5 different men and that went through college and had a whole phase and brag about it, that woman versus a woman who kept herself, or a woman who hasn't slept around, she might have had some relationships, but she's not going to be ran through, and she cares about her body and her energy and who she allows into her life, and she respects the covering of a male. Who would you choose? Who would you choose for your son? Would you tell your son the first choice should be the woman that bragged about having a whole phase in college, that wanted to go party and do everything that she wanted to do until she got 38 or 40 and then decided to be married? And then she wants your son who abided by the rules of you and your husband. You want that to be your first choice for your son, to leave their legacy, to lead your legacy, to have children with? Or would the first choice be the woman who has kept herself? Or the woman who may have had relationships, but she didn't have a whole phase, and she wasn't bragging about it on social media, and she wasn't tooting and shaking her booty on social media and posing with pictures of her behind and her vagina all spread out in front of the camera, being cute, or sliding down somebody's pole. Which woman would you want your son to choose? Which daughter would you take to meet the people that you fellowship with? We need to do a radical mind change and get our acts in order. So you want to get mad about a military being in control? You want to call President Trump a dictator and be mad because he's going rogue and he's taking control, but you can't even control your own body parts. You can't even keep your legs closed and your penis zipped up in your pants. You can't even keep your families together. We can't. No, the military had to take control. Welcome to my channel where I talk about geopolitics and finances in order for us to have family, wealth, and legacy as we go on into the future. That's what Dr. Kia Pruitt is about. Such foreign officials include members of the American and British Bar Associations who were licensed to act as privateers. They're not private. They were licensed to act as privateers against the interests of the American states and American state citizens from 1845 to 2013 in flagrant breach of trust. All those people that participated with the American Bar Association and the British Bar Association, I apologize that you didn't know. You passed the bar, you have Esquire behind your name, you became an attorney, not a lawyer. A lawyer works for the laws or the republic, but you became an attorney and not a judge, but an administrator, because judges work with the Constitution. Attorneys and judges work in the Constitution. They promote the law, they write laws. Attorneys and administrators work for the United States Incorporated, that was incorporated in 1871 in the state of Delaware as a nonprofit religious organization, and they have a Constitution of the United States Incorporated, and they work for the British Crown with the Pope as their leader, which is again what gave the Pope the authority to write this letter. So we applaud you. We understand and understand that the system in which we were living, in order to do well, in order to provide for your families, you needed a degree. You needed, it was understandable, and we appreciate and we respect you for having gotten an attorney's license, or you passed the bar. We applaud you. We are very, very grateful that you did what was in the best interest under that particular paradigm. But as I stated yesterday, under Nasara law, you're going to have to be retrained in constitutional law, because these people, or those of us who have had a esquire behind their name or a title of nobility, were actually working for the American British Bar Association. You were licensed as privateers, but you worked in the best interest of the crown and not the people. That's a flagrant breach of trust. So most of those people that were operating, at least in Congress, they're going to be arrested because they participate in crimes against humanity. But the everyday person, you're just going to have to be retrained. And I don't think that's going to take a lot. In fact, there are some institutions right now that have stated that they are retraining attorneys to become lawyers in constitutional law. I could do a whole podcast on that. So why do I sometimes am I nice and I'm kind, and I can operate in my feminine capacity, and then on another time I switch and I'm chastising and I'm upset because I am a matriarch, I am a chiefess, and I am doing the job that I was called to do. Some of us need to become a little more upset about what we've allowed to happen in our lives, our personal lives, and what we've allowed to happen in our families. Some of us should be upset that we've even gotten to this point that the military had to take control, because if we had done our job, there's no way these people would have been able to continue this to run roughshod through our countries and our land masses. So we can never allow this to happen again. Ever, not the women or the men. We can never allow this to happen. And the first step is to get your own house in order. You need to go get your kids from wherever they are. You need to get them up either under your roof or at least around in your community. You need to set down some laws and some rules. You need to write a mission statement for your marriage and for yourself and for your family. You need a mission statement and a vision statement. This is what we're going to do. This is my purpose. That's my mission statement. This is what I'm going to do as an individual. This is my purpose of why I was called here. As a marriage, this is our purpose. This is our mission. As a family, this is the mission. And we have a vision. What do we see for ourselves in the future? When you have a mission and a vision and you live from that place, you don't allow chaos to occur. The reason why a lot of police knock some of your sons upside the head is because your sons are acting out of order and they didn't have a relationship with their father. The reason why some of your daughters are whores and twerking and acting unruly and unseemly and sliding down somebody's pole is because you didn't do your job as a parent. And because you didn't make sure that child had a relationship with the father, or because the father didn't do his job to make sure he was covering the child, or because the mother and the father didn't have enough common sense to put away their disagreements to come to the table to do what's in the best interest of the children. That's why your daughters are whores and your sons are gangbangers and drug dealers, because you didn't do your job. Somebody has to hold people accountable instead of blaming the police for knocking your unruly child upside the head. Because if your child had done what they were supposed to, and they were in the house when they were supposed to, and they abide by the rules, if you even have any that you set forth for your family, they wouldn't have gotten knocked upside the head. If you and I had some rites of passage programs that we created in our own private schools for our children, they wouldn't get miseducated in the school system and then go off to college where they learn to be liberals and whores and reckless and whatever else. But instead, they will be living right under our eyes, and they will be working right along with our mission and vision. We haven't done our job. And then we want to get upset because ICE knocked somebody upside the head, a police officer knocked. We do know that there was some police brutality, but it occurred in the Black community, the white community, all communities. But you know what? If we were doing our jobs, We could have dragged them out of, we could have taken the police out of commission because police or policy enforcers are foreign entities. The Constitution for our republic says that local people and local governances, local states, people that operate at the state level has more power than the federal level. But we rather sing kumbaya and cast negative affirmations in the streets. I can't breathe, don't shoot. And after plumb fool and plumb nuts allow ourselves to be infiltrated by Antifa and Black Lives Matter and run through the streets and fight National Guard and police officers instead of getting our houses in order. Back to the letter. Insomuch as corporate officers operating the United States of America Incorporated and the United States, all capital letters, have contrived under conditions of fraud and semantic deceit to revenue the estates of the American states and living American state citizens to the foreign jurisdiction of the United States of America minor, they are found guilty of capital crimes, including the acts of fraud and treason committed between 1933 and 1945, and are condemned posthumously. All those entities that did all these crimes, evenly, all in the past, they are condemned posthumously, leading all the way up today. In so much as elected officials operating in the United States of America minor have similarly committed war crimes against American states and their peaceful inhabitants during the same time period, they stand condemned posthumously as well. They all condemn. No enforcement upon any American state or American state citizen is owed as a result of any act of any Congress operating as the sovereign government of the United States of America minor, nor as the board of directors or the board of trustees of any incorporated entities whatsoever. This letter came from the Pope that he sent to Obama, letting everybody know that their time was up and that they have been condemned, that they will be arrested and they will pay reparations because all of their funds will be liquidated. They've committed crimes against humanity. All those estates, capital E-S-T-A-T-E-S, lowercase S-T-A-T-E-S, and all caps estates erroneously believed to represent the American states and American state citizens, and which were conveyed by fraud and legal deceit of the United States of America minor, and more recently to the city-state of the United States, are revenued without exception to the geographically defined American states and the American state citizens, where they shall remain in perpetuity as assets belonging to the rightful and lawful beneficiaries. All legal fiction entities, however structured and however named after the American states and American state citizens, are returned to them and their control. All the legal fictions are returned. Interesting. Free and clear of any debt, promise, encumbrance, or obligation alleged against them as the result of false claims made in their behalf by the officers of the United States of America Incorporated and the all caps United States of America Incorporated, and by any foreign officials operating the United States of America minor or the United Nations city-states falsely claiming to represent them or have jurisdiction over them. We note that the current circumstance is in part the result of criminal acts engaged in 150 years ago. So all this criminality, started in 150 years ago, which resulted in the commercial enslavement of African Americans who were summarily claimed as chattels back in the United States government debt in the wake of the Civil War. So in the wake of the Civil War, about 150 years ago, people classified as African Americans were enslaved in order to pay off or back the United States debt right here on their own landmass. We've already talked about how African Americans were first classified as indigenous, and they were the Indians that were discovered here, or the copper-colored races discovered here by Christopher Columbus, but now applied to Europeans. That's what American is. American is the copper-colored races, defined as, according to 1858 Webster's definition, American is defined as the copper-colored races discovered by Christopher Columbus in North America, in the North Americas, but now applied to Europeans. They were called indigenous, they were called Indians, and then throughout time, with Walter Plecker and other people in the Census Bureau, they were classified then from Indian or indigenous to colored, Negro, what else? Colored, Negro, Black, and African American. But they were enslaved here because they are prisoners of war, or were prisoners of war, and they were used as chattels to back the United States government debt. However, it didn't stop with African Americans, and you're going to see it in a minute. Despite every act of abolition and declaration of prohibition against both peonage and slavery, it has been the policy of the United States Incorporated, or the United States government, to enslave all of its citizens and to operate as a rogue state among the nations of the world. So the United States government that's shut down right now, they enslaved everybody on this landmass, and they have operated as rogue state, or a rogue state among the nations of the world. This is why people, that other countries didn't want to do business with the United States Incorporated, because they know who they are. They know that they're not Americans. They know that they're not the Republic. And they were waiting for us to wake up. And they're waiting for us to get our act in order. And they're waiting for us to take control of our own lives and our own families and our own communities and our own nation. They're waiting for us all to stop acting like slaves. You are gods in flesh. The scripture says you are gods in the Old Testament and Psalms. And then the Christ, or the Messiah of the Bible, asked the people, didn't your own law says you're gods? So some people say that doesn't mean you're a literal God. A God is a creator. There are many different creators. There are many different beings that create. There's a supreme power, they say, or there is source from which we all come, but there are many gods. You are the creator. You have power, rule, and reign over your own life. When you wake up and stop depending on the government, when you wake up and stop saying you can't make it without somebody telling you what to do, and you actually control your own mind, control your own body, control your own life, be creative and create businesses and do business with one another, control your own emotions and stop, allowing the Hollywood and mainstream media to cause you to go out in the streets and fight and cause you to be angry at people that are bringing order. I'm a little confused by why so many people are upset with President Donald Trump and the military, but they're not upset with the drug dealers that's running roughshod in their community. You're not upset with the gangbangers that took your son's life. Like, help me make this make sense. If you get order of your own life and your own family, your own community, nobody else has to come and bring them under order. If you have a purpose and a vision and a mission for your own family, then you don't have to work for somebody else's mission, vision, and future. Despite every act of abolition and declaration of prohibition against peonage and slavery, it has been the policy of the United States government to enslave its citizens and to operate as a rogue state among the nations of the world. Instead of freeing African Americans, the sum total result of the Civil War was actually to vastly expand public sector ownership of slaves. So you might think that the Civil War actually freed African Americans. That's not what the Civil War did. The Civil War said we're going to let the Black folks go free, but we're going to enslave everybody. Expand public sector ownership of slaves, giving rise to the outrageous and improper claims that have been made against the American states and the American state citizens that we are dealing with today. It is uniquely fitting, therefore, that the Grand Army of the Republic is recalled to settle this circumstance in favor of we the people. So this is why you have National Guard on the land. This is why you have military in control. This is why the government is shut down. It was foretold a while ago. I'm sending you a link, Chief Mac, by Pope Francis. And he sent this to the then President of the United States Incorporated, Obama, not because he was benevolent, but because they have to tell you what they're going to do. They have to let people know what's happening, and because they were low-key scared. Our time is up. We need to stand down. We need to step down because the military is in control under General Ham. I sent you a link, Chief Mac. So we need United States Incorporated and all 441 fake government agencies. Now the site says since they shut down the government, it's now it's listed as 442, but it was 441. We gonna have to stand down, and our time is up. My question, Dr. Kia Pruitt, Mama Kia, is asking you, what are y'all gonna do? Are we gonna complain and cry that we're not gonna get welfare benefits? Are we gonna cry that Social Security might get cut off? Are we gonna cry that Walmart is gonna be closed and that banks are closing? Are we gonna cry and ask what are we gonna do? Because maybe you might not have access to some of these retirements, and maybe stock market might collapse. Or are we going to use our senses and our gifts, skills, and abilities to brainstorm with one another and work together? Actually, collapsing the whole system and taking it down, although it might make us uncomfortable in the short term, will be good in the long term, because now you don't lead or won't have the government to depend on. And it's interesting how I've seen so many women in my family and so many women around me do not want to subject ourselves to a husband, don't want to be married, but we will run right fast to the government for some welfare benefits, or to get a government job even, or to get a Section 8 housing. We don't want to listen to a man to be covered and to be protected. We don't want a man to tell us that you can't wear that out in public because you might turn on another man and he might do certain things to you. But we'll go and ask Big Papa, Zaddy, the government, to give me a job, to educate my children. And then we want to try to tell them how to, oh, you got to treat my child fairly. You got to let them wear their natural hair. You got to let my child wear the wild hair, to change it purple, blue, and tell them they can't wear piercings. How dare you, Zaddy? I'm turning over my kids to you and allowing you to miseducate them. And then I have the gall to tell you how to do it. Isn't that weird? We're going to have to get it together. We can be mad at the police for the harmful, terrible, horrible, horrific crimes that they commit, but you won't use that energy to go running around the gangbanger's house. You won't use that energy to demand the drug dealer to stop selling drugs to your mama. You won't say anything to the people that run roughshod in your community that shoots off guns in the middle of the night so your children can't play in the background. And you know what? When I talk to some of the young men, I can't blame the women, because when I ask them, how did you get involved in crimes? Oh, it's the old heads, the OGs. They recruit us to come on and take over and do the crime for them, because then they'll get off and we'll get paid in the short term. We all have been complicit in our own enslavement. Yes, the government is rogue. Yes, we've been enslaved by non-human beings. Yes, people have turned their backs on us. Yes, people in each and every one of our communities have pledged secret societies, and they work in cahoots with these nefarious, ungodly, unseemly people. But many of us have been complicit in our own enslavement. And until you take control of your own body, your own mind, your own life, and your own family, somebody else will control you. Having said that, here's the chief of the Soul Tribe. I'll shut my mouth and yield the floor.
Dr. Kid, you're on fire today. But it's needed though. It's needed. Because and how you doing, Soul Tribe? It's needed because we have been taught an inverted way of living. I saw somebody in the comment said that because we live in a reverse world, because the beings that are ruling this world, they turned it inside out, upside down, and flipped it around. So that means that basically everything, we're living a lie. We're living a lie, because the hate to them, good love to them is to hate us.
Mm.
Help them helping us is to hurt us.
Mm. Oh, can you explain that?
Because
Help for them is to hurt us.
our chaos is their joy.
Mm.
Because it's all innocent harvesting. So I'm sorry to tell you guys that expect your world to be rocked, because the things that I've been talking about that people couldn't, you're gonna see it's true. You're gonna see it's true. You're gonna realize, I'm sorry, that it's been trying to tell us that you are gods,
Mm.
but you shall die like men. Because
Ooh,
thinking, that's the part y'all left out.
thank you, Chief. Mm.
Ye are gods, but you
Mm.
shall die like a man, because
Mm.
you're not thinking like a god.
Wow.
And it also goes to say that
Wow.
my people perish for lack of knowledge. But why are his people perishing from lack of knowledge? It's because they rejected.
Mm.
They're rejecting knowledge to be the fiduciary responsibility over your spiritual state and your physical state. And you have given that power, authority, and rulership over to the beast system. And this is why they're thriving. And
Yes,
how are
sir.
they thriving? It's because they taught us how to love chaos and foolishness
Mm.
and not come together under one authority. We're always trying to compete with one another when we see somebody shining, and that's the problem. But we have an opportunity
Are you there, Chief? Uh-oh. There
Can you
he
hear
is.
me?
I can hear you. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I came
Yes.
out. So we have an opportunity to redeem that. Redemption is being brought to earth by the people.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. We can't hear Chief, but he was saying that the scripture says you are God's, but
Sorry
you shall
about
be
that.
curious. There
That,
you
that was
go.
my brother calling. How that go? But anyway,
Oh,
can you hear me?
yes, sir.
Okay, so we have an opportunity to clean up, to clean up. Those of you who are part of this wealth transfer, it's our job. That's why you have an abundance. That overage is so that we can come in here and we can operate in trust. Those of us who have the 508, C1A, irrevocable trust. The purpose of that trust, the main purpose of that trust, is so that we can do business with each other in trust.
Mm.
Because we have a foundation of ministry, meaning that we can partner up together with our foundation. We can even give to each other and keep each other in power, or whoever we want to keep in power, and that becomes a tax write-off to the external revenue. That's the
Mm.
purpose of it. So we can come and snatch up apartment buildings, fix them up, hotels, fix them up, and take the people on the streets who are salvageable and give them an opportunity at life again, because this beast system is not going to do it. And another thing, we need to stop moving in fear. We need to stop being the victim and be the victor over being the victim. We need to stop pointing fingers, and we need to start focusing on ourselves and clean your
Yes.
own shit up and stop focusing on everybody else. And that's the problem with us, especially us melanated people. When you rise up in the morning and you open your eyes up, that's an opportunity to get it right. And a lot of people don't respect our celestial family and the Great Spirit, because
Mm.
when you go in these hospitals and you see people sick and don't even have enough strength to even raise themselves out of bed to take a shower or brush their teeth.
Mm.
And you got these ignorant ass, excuse my friend, because it makes me angry, because people are foolish and they're selfish because they refuse to see things that you should see. That's selfish. It's always, how can I get over? How can I get something free?
Mm-hmm.
How can I connive somebody? They're still in victim mode. They're always pointing the fingers at what happened to me, and they never see anything that they do wrong. It's always somebody else. So I'm here to tell you, if you are around a person who lacks accountability, authenticity, humility,
Mm.
and patience, get them out of your damn life. They will suck you dry. And it is what it is. I know, Dr. Kid know, she and
Yes.
I talk about, and that's why I tell her to protect her as being her
Me
covering.
too.
Kid, because people want to get in her life to be nosy. I said,
Mm-hmm.
don't do it, kid. See,
Yes.
I can handle it because my skin is thick. I can handle it. And I talk to her and say, but people are treacherous.
Yeah.
So you got these people are 3D people. But I like
Mm.
to say it's a lot of people here. We have skipped 4D and moved over to 5D. And if you're
Yes.
still stuck over into 3D mentality, you're gonna take your own stuff up out of here. If you mess
Mm.
around and get anything of this wealth, and you had to change your heart and purge all that
Mm.
unrighteousness out of your heart, as you mess around, get it, guess what it's gonna do? All money's gonna do is accentuate what's in your heart already for you to be your own demise and take yourself up out of here. Because this money, with this much power, come a lot of influence, and you have to have a righteous heart. I just said a perfect heart, a righteous heart. And what is a righteous heart?
Mm.
A righteous heart is when you trespass against your brother or sister. You can go to them and say, "Brother and sister, can you forgive me?"
I love
That's a
that.
righteous heart. And that's what we need right now. We have an opportunity to clean up humanity from this beast system because they are the ones in rulership right now. And they're nervous
Mm-hmm.
and they're running. They're trying to hide underground. Why is that? It's because our celestial family are here because the frequency and the earth changed for them to come. They couldn't come. They've been waiting all this time.
They have.
Times to change it right now is because the frequency of the right ones, the chosen ones, have found each other and are coming together with love, honor, and respect. We have found each other and we are coming together and we're not coming to each other with bullshit. We coming to each other with respect, honor, love, and righteousness. And that's what's happening. And if you're not about that, then you can keep it moving. Righteous people like to talk and hash things out. They don't hide behind and try to tell lies on people and then think you can go to another righteous person and tell a story on another righteous person because we see you. In other words, for those anybody trying to sneak and talk to Dr. Kia about me and her, we talk.
You sure do.
We talk. And this lady knows my heart and knows that I am a righteous man because she is not a foolish woman and she would dare attach herself to any wicked, unrighteous man nor woman. So don't reach out to her because she's not trying to be your friend. She's a teacher.
That's
She's
right.
been sent here to be the teacher to put people with lending ears and righteous ear to clean your house up because we're getting kingdom points. She's not here to be your friend and laugh like this. Woman, we ought to respect that about her. And the same for
Thank
me.
you.
I'm not the
Thank
smartest man. She's not the smartest woman, but we are to be respected because we have helped out a lot of people, even when we didn't feel like it. Even when we had things going on in our own family, and we got to get on here and smile
you.
so
That's true.
people can make an executive decision about what you're going to do in your life. This is a very and tremendously important time that we're in right now. Why is that?
Yes.
Because what you do today is going to help out your great, great, great grandchild today. What you do today. So you should be focused on anybody else or having any animosity with anybody and clean your shit up and have tunnel vision because your great, great, great grandchild is dependent on you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how important this is. This is why it's important to get your trust established because when you transition, that trust is still alive. It
Mm.
is a new identity. The paperwork is the body without a soul. The foreign EIN number is the spirit that needs a body. And when you take them two together and they breathe into each other, you got a brand new living soul.
Mm. So
But
hold on.
you're
You said.
alive. And this beast system cannot deal with a living soul. They can
Mm.
deal with the creation called which is a fictitious corporation, which means that if you are a corporation, an all cap name, that means you are a corpse. And if you are a corpse, you cannot talk because you don't have no life in your body. So when you go to court, they can't hear you because you're underwater and you need to be reborn, rebirth, become a new man in mind, body, spirit, and soul. And come out of that old man that's been hurt, that's been talked about, that's been ridiculed and persecuted, and stop being the victim and be the victor and speak it into existence like I have. That's the opportunity we have. So come to the altar. And I'm not talking about nothing about no damn Sunday service. Come to the altar. Redemption is here. Clean your heart. Purge out all the unrighteousness. Let's join together because humanity needs us, because we are the new 1%ers. It's 1% of us that are doing this process that's going to replace the old 1%, which is the B system, which are entities in skin suits masking around like they're us, smiling with hate and a perpetual hatred toward us. And you are going to fight with each other, and you're giving authority to this beast system. I ask the Creator to take anybody out that's still operating like that, because you are a menace to society. You are the reason why we're behind right now. And if you take it personal, so be it. We don't need those kind of people around anymore. We need people to roll our sleeves up, get ready to put some major sweat equity into humanity. Because we got people out there that's dependent on us. And everything that you do is being recorded. And you're going to fuck around and play games. Every single thing that you do is being recorded and jotted down. For all the people that operate with lack of authenticity and accountability, you are being watched. You have an opportunity to clean it up. That's my rant right there, Dr. Kill.
I appreciate it, Chief.
Let me go in and come back up. I can't hear. I'm gonna go in and come right back out.
Okay. I thank you all so much for being here. We've had over 1,000 people in the chat. I appreciate you all so much. I love you all so much. And I have a lot more information to give you all. If you want to contact Chief Mack in order to do a trust so you can operate in the private outside of the jurisdiction of the government, then you can, okay, let me see. Let me remove Chief Mack and then bring him back in. Then you can contact Chief Mack. I had it right here. You can contact Chief Mack via email at unityinmotion45@yahoo.com. UNITYINMOTION 45@yahoo.com. And you email him, he'll tell you what you need to do so that you can pay for a consultation fee. And it is a very affordable consultation fee. And then he will consult with you on a private trust. He also is he was a, what did you say, bodybuilder? What do you call it?
I was a personal trainer for celebrities and professional athletes. I also do things with private sector. I'm into holistic herbs. I'm still growing out my hair, guys. And
it looks
I'm
great.
the only brother that's, I got 7 brothers. I'm the only one still growing hair. So I deal with holistics. I don't, things to do to not put chemicals and stuff in the body, So I'm just big on that right there. But those,
so you can help people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And for those, if you ask about my YouTube, it's under Chief Mack. Go ahead and subscribe to Chief Mack. I got a pretty good live that I did a few days ago called "The Fallen Angels Time Is Up." You might want to check that out. And I'm gonna do a part 2 of "The Fallen Angels Time Is Up" today. It's very informative, guys.
What time do you know what time you're gonna be on, Chief, or we should just all be watching out for it?
Let's say I'm gonna try to do that around about 5 o'clock. I'm gonna do a live today of the part 2 on "The Fallen Angels Time Is Up." It's a very provocative information. It's gonna shake the ground, but I want to teach you guys about gematria. About gematria, and the lady right there, the white lady, she's doing a speech, about a 10-minute speech, which I'm gonna play that while, and then I'm gonna break it down. About Fallen Angel Creed, about what they did to take over humanity. what they did. So I'm sorry to say, earth is that hell that we're in. I'm sorry to tell you, in religion, they lied to you. There is no hell you're going to. Because how could a body, how could it takes a body to burn up in flesh. So it's how can you burn it in a lake of fire when you don't even have a body? Because you lose this body, and this body is buried and goes back to the earth, and the body that you have is that celestial body that's greater than any earthly realm that can hurt it. Fire can't hurt it. It doesn't need air, food, and anything. All it needs is light, and that's its food. So a celestial body is greater than a fire on earth to burn. So you've been lied to. There's no hell you're going to. Didn't in that book it said that the fallen angels and the Lucifer, the so-called Lucifer character, did it say they got sent to hell? No. It said they got kicked down here to earth. And if we're down here with them, what do you think we are, guys? Come on now. So you get rid of the hate, the envy, the malice, the jealousy out of your heart. It's the beginning of your way out of here. Because if not, you're going to repeat it. You're going to be reincarnated back into it. And you're going to find yourself going to a light. And when you come out that light, you're going to find yourself a baby crying like hell because you're back in hell. You're back in it. Ain't no hell you're going to. That's that fire and brimstone doctrine that they use on indoctrinated people to scare you into taking whatever shot they say take, man. Huh?
Yes, sir.
And you're supposed to exercise the faith. Where was your faith, guys? As you roll your sleeves up and you didn't have no faith, because the faith that's coming from the church is a watered down, lukewarm, false faith. Come out of religion and into relationship with the Great Spirit and our celestial family and with each other. Because Reverend Flint Flam and Pastor Sneak at Sweetwater Baptist Church are not going to carry the truth with bubbles and sweet cheeks, leading the choir and playing the drums. You're not going to get no truth out of that. Might as well get your popcorn because you watched the movie, and that's what you're going to get out of that.
And unfortunately, a lot of people are about to see pastors being arrested because some of these pastors have been in cahoots with the deep state.
Listen, most of the pastors in Atlanta got diabetes, sugar diabetes, if you know what I mean. Sugar diabetes.
They sweet. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, come on now. I can't say that other word because I get a citation. So I said sugar diabetes. If you can get a grip. You know.
And a lot of them they make and not just that, because if that's who they were, that's one thing. But a lot of them messing with
and get that. I don't have a problem with people like that at all. Period. I got friends. I can talk to anybody because you don't know what people have been through.
That's right.
My problem is the indoctrination of it that you're trying to push on people.
And they're doing things to these little boys. That's it.
Indoctrination of it.
Yeah, they're doing stuff to little boys, and they're having relationship. A lot of them with these, and it went through my church, where the church I grew up in. But they keep a hush hush. They went through a lot of the boys, and it didn't come out until the pastors or the bishops died. That a lot of the men who are now men were being bothered by some of these pastors, and they pass them around.
That's sad. That's the ugly truth. But that's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. So we got to clean it up, man. So stop giving credibility just because somebody said I'm a pastor, deacon, preacher, a bishop. Those titles don't mean nothing. Going over to this fifth dimension don't mean nothing, because there's a lot of people out here who are educated right now can't even get a job at McDonald's. Okay, and there's a lot of people that got an education and got over about $250,000 in debt for a job that's not even here today, that's been offshore. They played you. And you went in debt, and they pulled the money from your estate to pay for it, and then what you pay is 100% interest. And other countries are giving you free medical, free education, free food stamps. But here in America, it's a commerce state. Everything is commerce. You ain't going to jail for the crime you did. You're going to jail because when you go to jail, you're paying room and board in that jail cell from your estate for these private damn prisons. And they got these police out here as gangsters for this mob that they're working for, and you can run a red light, and they're going to treat you like you a serial killer. Why is that? It's because that ticket that they write you is a bond that they want to securitize from your estate. Even when you pay that damn ticket off, man, you go there 2 or 3 years down the line, it's still in green because they're pulling from your estate because it's attached to that estate. So it ain't got nothing to do. They produce crimes in the book so they can steady rob the people. I'm sick of it, and you guys should be sick of it too. And for my dear brothers and sisters who work for this beast system, and you're railroading your brothers and sisters, you need to do some soul searching because you're working for some gangsters, some criminals.
So, Chief, since we know that we were working for gangsters and criminals, and we were taking, some of us are on have received benefits. The government is shut down now, and they may not ever open back up. If it does open up, it'll be as a republic. Our lawful government. But in the meantime, what should people be doing?
They're shutting down this government because they're shutting down the beat system. People are fussed about SNAP. Well, when they give you SNAP, they're actually sticking their hands in the cookie jar. Mm-hmm. They're pulling from your estate. That's what's happening. They're actually pulling from your trust estate.
Mm-hmm. I'm listening. I'm just going to get off the screen and let you cook. Hold on, Chief.
Yeah, they're pulling from your trust estate. They're pulling from your trust estate. That's what's happening. So they have to end that, guys. They have to end that so that because everybody is going to be looking to maybe get like a $15,000 or $20,000 a month stipend every month. But guys, they're trying to get us to recontract either with the real ID or the digital ID. And so for those of you who don't have it, guys, you want to try to get your birth certificate authenticated on the state level. Get it authenticated on your home state. If you live in your home state, you can walk your birth certificate right in there and tell them that you want to get it, whether you need to go to authenticate your birth certificate. And they'll tell you what you can be in and out of there in 30 minutes. And you want to make sure that you pick a non-Hague country. They'll give you an application to fill out, and you can pick a non-Hague country. Pull it up. What are your non-Hague countries? And you can utilize whichever one you want to. And once you do that on the state level, which is the state you were born in, and you get it all dedicated at the Secretary of State, then you can do it on the federal level. So I do consultations on how to do that on the federal level. Once you get it done on the federal level, now you can go after that diplomatic passport, which makes you a state national and removes you out of citizenship, because being a citizen means you sit in sin. So you can do that because that authenticated birth certificate on the state and federal level will have to go in the application process of getting your diplomatic passport, along with an additional passport and some other documents, along with your trust. All that has to go inside there so that you can get at least a 3-star passport, which you have more superior perks than a citizen. And if you do that, you have your trust. There's some other paperwork you can get to end the contracts with this beast system by coming out of the minority over into majority. And this is what they have done. They placed us as minors for majority. So you want to be the majority so that you can be the heir, the beneficiary, and the grantor over such a state that was started at birth, and you can shut it down so they can't do any business with you. They've been railroading the American people for too long, and we should want to be out of this beast system. I'm so grateful. I just want righteousness amongst the people. I want fairness amongst the people. I want redemption amongst the people, and I want us to love each other with action. That's what my goal is, and I've been that way from day one. And not everybody is like that. Not everybody don't want no peace because they love the ways of this beast system. And if that's what you are, you won't be around me or who, but you're gonna find yourself being taken up out of here. So that's you want for those of you who want a consultation. There is a consultation fee because I'm not trying to be on the phone with any and everybody. And if your heart is not right, any discrepancies that I have with anybody, Dr. Kia and I, we talk about it.
We do. We do.
Anything, any man that tries to reach out to her about something foolishness when you have a trust already and a foreign EIN number, and you email Dr. Kia saying that Chief Mac did me wrong. He did this. And you know who I'm talking about. And brother, cut it out. Get your shit together. You got the trust, and you have a foreign EIN number, and I did my job. I'm worthy of the work that you paid me to do, and you have it. So cut it out, because Dr. Kia and I, we talk about it all.
We talk. We do. We do. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Chief, for covering me spiritually and taking care of me financially, making sure I'm always right. You know, I'm together, that I can pay my bills. I appreciate you so much. That's why I tell people all the time, we need each other, but we are also very fortunate to have men, because men will cover you in prayer. Men will take care of you and provide for you, but you have to have a certain energy. They're not just going to come and cover some rogue person. They're going to cover somebody that has respect for herself and that has a mission and a purpose. I'll let the men speak up for that, but I just know that the type of man that Chief is, he's going to help you out when you have the right heart. And men in general, they love to provide and protect. This whole rhetoric that men are no good and men don't provide and men are out here only for themselves is stuff that we need to counteract with the truth. There may be some guys out there that do that, but overall, there are men that are good, upstanding individuals. And there might be a man that'll mistreat one person, but treat somebody else based on her energy.
Yep.
They'll show up based on the way you present yourself. That's just the way it is. This is the things that women used to teach people. People treat you the way you treat yourself, period. So I want to thank you for being a good example of a chief and a man and a provider and protector for me and the Soul Tribe. This chief is also giving people money and bless people with trust. So thank you. And thank you for the offering you gave today. Thank you, Awakened One, for your offering as well. Thank you, Billionaire Love, for your offering and your gift as well. I appreciate you. I'm going to give you all Chief's information, but I do want to tell everybody thank you that has been contributing to my work while I was down or out or not talking, or even when I'm doing other things. You send me gifts. Thank you, Harold Walker. I want to thank you for saying you gave me a gift for truth and knowledge. For those of you that are interested in sending an offering, the Cash App is $ Mama Kia 13. Otherwise, I'm just glad you're here and that you're listening. Thank you, Kimberly Williams. She says, be blessed. Thank you, Maxine, that says, I love you, soul sister. Felicia gave me an offer. She said, thank you for the education, sister. Veronica says, shalom. Shalom to you, sister. Christine Washington says, I love you, Kia. I love you back. Chief Mac, again, send me blessings very often. Thank you so much, Chief. I love you. My son, Dexter. Sister Kara Rashford says, this is a gift. Matthew, thank you, says, bless you for your amazing heart. I thank you so much. The good that you see in me is actually who you are. That's a reflection of who you are. So I thank you so much. Sister Sheila says, continuous thanks, lady. You're welcome. Angela says, thank you. Tom Jacob says, welcome back. Thank you. Ishmael, who sends payment, says, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Who else? Auntie Gloria. Hi, Aunt Gloria says, you're interested in the med beds. Okay, I'll send you some information on med beds. Judy sent an offering. Carol Watson sent a gift, says you are appreciated. Edward Darby, this is how much love I'm getting, Chief. Says this is an offering for you. Joyce says, thank you. My birthday was also on October the 1st. She says, just like mine. Thank you for spreading the truth. Ralph says, Eric Craddock says, thanks for your service to humanity. You're welcome. It's my great pleasure. Randolph Brewster says, this is a blessing. Norma Salazar says, I'm sending you love, light, and abundance. Thank you so much to all of you that sends blessings to me. Gratitude to you too. Chief, we're about to come up on our 2-hour mark. I was trying to get out here at 2, but we might go over a little bit. Any final words?
Guys, be prepared for this miracle that's going to happen really soon.
Be prepared for the miracle that's about to happen really soon. Okay, you've heard from Chief. Go ahead. I'm trying to get out by.
I'm saying just the RP. Be prepared for us. It's about to go down.
It's about to go down. And we're going to come back to talk more about that. If you want to talk to Chief, contact him, unityemotion45@yahoo.com. I'm Dr. Kia Pruitt. You've heard from Chief Mac. I trust you've heard something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Go out and make this a great. I love y'all. Love you, Chief. I'll call you.
Okay, now.
Thank you, family.